And welcome to the October 23rd edition of the Coaches Show. A bit of a warning prior to the start at the beginning. This will be a bit of a shorter Coaches Show as opposed to a couple other weeks this week. And today we've got the Stew Fest over at the park west of the square. So yeah, a bit of a shorter show, so as we can best not intervene on the Stew Fest going on over there. But let's get into, normally at this time I do college football today, but we're going to cut that segment for this weekend and move right over to Wildcat and Lady Cat sports in review. Volleyball had a bit of a rough week, as on Tuesday they had a last-minute scheduled game with Edgewood. Coach Bailey Dorner and her program wanted to get a final tuning game before their final two district contests of the fall 2021 season. And a bit of a rough match, as the Lady Cats did fall in 4, and then unfortunately also lost last night in what was senior night for the volleyball program at the SSHS main gym, falling to Hallsville. So a tough week for Coach Bailey Dorner and her volleyball program, but they will close out their fall 2021 regular season on Tuesday when they travel to Longview to take on the Lady Lobos. Should be a good contest, as the Lady Cats did manage to sweep the Lady Lobos when they came to the SSHS main gym earlier this season, and will no doubt be hoping for similar results. But moving over to cross country, last week the cross country program was in the District 15 5A championship held in Hallsville, and the teams did pretty well. The women placed third and the men placed fourth, and with a third place finish for the women's team, they will be moving on to regionals, which will be held on Monday in Dallas at the Jesse Owens Sports Complex. So best of luck to Coach Hicks and the Lady Cats cross country program moving on to the regional round. Congratulations to them for doing so. And congratulations for the Wildcats men's team for having a very good season and competing all the way to the finish. Middle school football continues to roll. Coach Eddie Flores, middle school Wildcats football coach, continues to report that the A and B 8th grade teams continue to roll, as they have a 6-0 start to their season and only 2 games left. And congratulations to them for their blazing hot start. And then I mentioned volleyball. So, and then golf also has been fighting through their fall 2021 season. They had their third contest of the season on Monday, and their final and fourth contest will be on Monday. So congratulations to Coach Jeremy DeLorge and Lady Cats coach Winnie Spiegner for fighting through their whole season and no doubt competing hard. Can't wait to hear how they've been doing. But a bit of a quick intro for this coaches show, but we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we return, we should have Coach Owens joining us here in just a moment. And welcome back to the Coaches Show, and joining us here on October 23rd is Coach Greg Owens. And before we went to commercial break, we talked Wildcat and Lady Cat sports in review, and I mentioned that the regionals for the cross-country team will be on Monday, but that location has since been changed. Now it'll be on Tuesday. The girls will be at 12, the men will be at 12:30, and that will be at Lynn Creek Park at Joe Park. So very much look forward to seeing how the girls will be doing, and one boy, of course, moving on. And Coach, would you like to comment on this week in review?
It's been a pretty good week. I mean, it has. I mean, our girls had a hard match last night, but I think we've secured a volleyball playoff, and tentatively right now it kind of looks like that may be on November the 1st, which is a Monday. And again, that's still tentative. I'll confirm all that kind of stuff and get that to you, but we still have another game to play. And so we're already kind of making playoff plans with some of those things. Best of luck to our cross-country guys this week, and sorry about the change, but they did, after everybody booked hotel rooms and all that, for some reason they decided to flip classification, so they flipped days on everybody. So everybody's been scrambling, trying to get hotel rooms and changes and all that kind of stuff for it. So we will be running on Tuesday, so best of luck to our cross-country kiddos and all that. So other than that, basketball's gearing up. Girls started on Wednesday. Boys are fixing to fire up this Wednesday. Middle school sports are still rocking. Our middle school guys are playing well. Our freshman football team is playing extremely well. All those things are happening, and it's that kind of a transition, getting the close of all the fall stuff, and then all the winter sports are starting to kick off and get to going too. So there's still a lot of activity, a lot of things happening. So our kids are competing well, and we're fired up for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's something we talked about on the coaches show last week. Is just the way that the overlap and the way that fall sports kind of more or less kind of end over the course of 2 weeks, and then just about the same week the kind of fall and winter sports start to pick up.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. You deal with it and you roll.
And then moving over to the game last night. It was a heartbreaking loss, this time at home versus Greenville. And while it was a tough loss, the offense looked sharp in the first half, racking up 21 points, the most your offense has scored in the first half all season long. And quarterback Brady Driver again counted for all the team's touchdowns, throwing TDs to C.J. Williams and Weston Fields and taking one in from 13 yards out.
Yeah, I mean, again, an athletic Greenville team. I felt like we were chasing Lamar Arrington all over the place last night, but it's it was just it was a tough night trying to get those guys slowed down just a little bit. And then offensively, we had some success. We finally settled in. The first drive, we dropped the ball. Then we got pressure. We had to throw it away. So went 3 and out. They scored, and then we countered back with the ball to Weston deep to put us back up. So got to punch that in, and so we kind of started settling in, doing some things. They were taking away the running backs, but the quarterback run game was there. So thought Brady did a nice job of making those reads and getting yardage on that. And then there were some good plays by our guys too. Some good catches, just some things that were taking place, and I don't know that this is another one of those big athletic fronts that we had to deal with. So they were just hard to move inside. So again, the running game was on the perimeter. So we made some things happen there, and again a quiet night for the running backs, but again they couldn't account for everybody the way they were trying to coverage and trying to play us. So those things happen. The defense kind of settled in and got used to the speed and got used to those guys and slowed them down and got some good stops in the second. I thought where we really hurt ourselves, there were 3 drives in the second quarter, 3 and out, and after great defensive stops. And the next one we had an interception on the 20 going in. Right read, right stuff, just a bad throw. We just underthrew the ball. And then we get down there again right before half, get another great stop, and we miss a field goal. So those are opportunities that I'm sitting here just cringing because we got to get points so we can get points. We didn't have that kind of field position in the second half, and so those things kind of hurt us early doing that. We just didn't finish, and so some of that stuff. One of those drives was a holding call that things came back. So those things are frustrating when you getting some of that kind of stuff. You got to convert and make those things happen. So, but overall, right, I agree with you. I mean, offense, they settled in. We were good. We were confident. Started getting things going. Felt good about what they did, and some good plays made. Just not quite enough, and in the big picture.
And we were talking, and you were talking about that front for Greenville, and something that you talked about during the coaches show is that they present a bit of an interesting formation at that 4-4-3, and so many times last night as the offense was getting set to snap the ball and execute a play, you would see 8 guys in the box, 9 guys in the box. So I mean, yeah, it's really hard to get your running game going when they're just polluting the middle of the interior line. 33,
73, man, they're big kids in there. I mean, they're hard to deal with. So they're just almost occupying 2 gaps when you go inside. Athletic linebackers. They weren't necessarily junking it up by a lot of blitzing. They brought heat from inside linebackers a few times, and it gave us some problems, caught us off guard. Offensive linemen got their head down and not up, and but they were athletic there. But they're just really good at open field tackling. We talked about that during the week. They've just gotten better and better and better as the years gone. I mean, they get routed by Chapel Hill early in the year, and we think, man, but after that, I mean, they kind of settle down. They know who they are. They're going to sit there and they're going to play you. And again, they're athletic guys that get you down in open field. So our little scat backs got loose a few times. I mean, they couldn't go anywhere. I mean, those guys just really did a good job of hemming them up. That's Malachi and JJ. Dougie had a nice run, some nice runs last night. We kind of got him going. But again, he's a guy that he's not 0 to 60. He's not a sports car, all right? He's your big sedan that he's rolling down the road. We got to get him going. And once he got a couple opportunities, hit some holes, and after about 3 or 4 yards, and then he got to going. So he kind of brought some energy, some excitement. He kind of felt good. So he's just that big back that needs a little more space. And they weren't giving us a whole lot of space last night. And they're little guys, they just can't break away from some of those tackles. So, but anyway, just guys got after it. I thought we played hard again, and like you said, yeah, it was a tough loss. It's another one of those that just punch in the gut deal, and just think you're going to get over this hump and get one in there. But credit to Greenville, they played great. Their guys did a great job, and can't take anything away from them, and I can't take anything away from our kiddos. We played hard. We just didn't make enough plays to win the ball game.
Absolutely, and when we return from a commercial break, we'll be moving over to the defense. Welcome back to the Coaches Show. Before we went to commercial break, we were joined by Coach Owens, who was talking the loss last night at the Prim versus Greenville, and we were talking the offense. But now let's talk the defense. And the defense played a lights-out game in the first half, only allowing the Lions 13 points to the first two. And not only that, but the Coach McCain-led unit forced 5 punts, a season high, and a couple of 3-and-outs. One of those, and I mentioned one of those punts was a 3-and-out for Greenville.
Yeah. So it was I think it was kind of a rough beginning. I mean, we had to get adjusted to. You sit here and watch a ball game, and sometimes if your offense goes down and scores too fast, too quick, that they kind of think, well, we got these guys. Defensively, you're kind of getting nervous about, hey, if they're running through us, and they kind of ran through us on a possession or two there in the first, and we just had to again get adjusted to their speed. The quarterback, number 3, is a dynamic player, is special, very special. And so he is hard to get down. So that was an open field issue for us, and him running the football was an issue. 20's a great player for him as well. So those guys were difficult for us to kind of get hemmed up a little bit. And their offensive line is a very good offensive line, doing a great job up there. So we were having to get adjusted to some of that stuff, seeing where our fits were going to be. Also, you're kind of filling each other out, seeing what their game plan, where are they trying to attack us. So we got a feel for that as the game went on right there, and guys started settling down, guys started making plays, and guys are a little hyped up too. I mean, there was some social media nonsense, earlier in the week between the two schools and the two teams a little bit, and so that stuff just kind of heightens it just a little bit more. And I told y'all last week, if it was a rival, it's probably us in Greenville right now, and that's still kind of the case because you saw that in the game. It was a very chippy game. There were a lot of personal fouls and a lot of unsportsmanlike on both sides, and it just all that stuff that took place and just being close and them knowing each other, that just made it a little more intense out there. So, but nonetheless, defense got settled down, started making some great stops, made some plays. I go back to that second quarter too. Man, Riley had his hands all over an interception. It was almost there. That was another opportunity that we could have had in the second. So it was just, it was one of those things. Just couldn't finish that deal with there. And again, I always get nervous when they got speed, because speed can change a game in one play. So those things. But guys kept rallying, kept making plays, kept getting after each other. Defensive line didn't make a ton of tackles because they're kind of covering us up. So it was really the safeties. The safeties and those guys were having to come up, and they were in outside backers and having to fit because their game plan turned into a perimeter game. They were just trying to hit us right off the edge, setting guys in, setting a short edge, trying to get around a corner, and again trying to get their speed and space, and that proves to be some issues for us. But standout guys, I don't know. I mean, just guys battled their tail off. I mean, I brag on Coach Silman again. I mean, Coach made some great plays. They got behind him. He doesn't give up on the ball. He goes and punches it out. I mean, there was just some good stuff there. I mean, Kobe Albritton, a tough guy on the edge. I mean, he's coming up and setting the edge too on a run game and doing those things. And he made some great plays. Bull kind of settled down a little bit, and he started making them. I mentioned Riley already. Those guys are there just kind of getting after things. Dougie had a few bursts in there, but he did a pretty good job. Devin woke up a few times out there and made some plays on the edge. But, again, you've got to be ready, and that kind of speed, you just got to get off blocks and try to make a play, and you've got to rally and get to the football. And I thought we got better the night as that went on, and you got to play with a lot of emotion. And so I think they cranked it back up, and things started going well there. So did we shut them down? I don't ever feel like we shut them down. I mean, there was just still too many explosives that they had. But it was enough there to go, and you got to counterbalance each other. But defense had some really good stops and gave you, again, we talked about in the second quarter, giving the offense some opportunities that we just didn't capitalize on. So it was a good night, not a great night for D, but it was a good night for those guys, and it was a tough night because of the speed they were dealing with.
And is there anything else you'd like to add regarding the loss to Greenville last night?
I don't know. I mean, it's just it's a hard ball game. I mean, our guys were still struggling trying to get one. I mean, I feel for them. I mean, they just, they're emotionally drained after that. Coaches are emotionally drained. I mean, you put so much into that week and planning and all that stuff. It's just frustrating. Just encourage our kiddos, keep their heads up, keep fighting. We got 2 more here. We got senior night, which will be another emotional night for us at home at the Prim this coming week. So that's an emotional night because it's the last time the seniors are going to play on that field. The way our season's going, we only have 2 ball games, so it'll be the last home game. That's always a tough deal. But, I mean, I'm proud of our kiddos. I mean, they're working hard. They're coming to practice. We're not having discipline issues. I mean, they're just, we just want to win. That's a whole thing. It's just an encouragement, a pat on the back or whatever. Here you go. Hey, accomplishment. You check the box. Here we go. We got us one. So those are things we're striving to get. We're working hard to get. And, I'm just still proud of the group and how hard they're working. And, yeah, I mean, the only thing – I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, you go back and think about that stuff, it's a pretty good ball game to watch as a spectator. I mean, it's back and forth, both sides. You don't know what's going to happen. The Corsicana game, go back to that one. I mean, back and forth. So I told you guys a few weeks ago that we're evenly matched with everybody we're playing here. So we're going to continue to see, I think, these kind of ball games. Not a blowout either way on either side. It's just everybody getting after it and everybody fighting and everybody scrapping. And I think last night, Corsicana, I can't remember who they were playing, but it was another close one with those guys. I think they pulled one out at the end last night. So I think Royce City and Crandall, they were battling back and forth with each other last night. So we got a pretty good district of football, and there's a lot of good stuff going on. Ennis beat Forney, and Forney had been undefeated to this point in district play. And so they defeated those guys last night. So we still got two more Forney teams we got to go play now. And so it'll be interesting still down through the stretch here. So we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep battling.
And when we come back from a quick commercial break, we'll talk about what fight will be needed to take on their next opponent, the Forney Jackrabbits. Welcome back to the Coaches Show here on October 23rd. And before we went to a commercial break, we dissected the loss last night at the Prim versus Greenville with Wildcats football head coach and athletic director here in SSISD, Greg Owens. But we're going to move over to next Friday's opponent. And Coach, what can you tell us about Forney?
Well, they got a new staff, so they changed. Randy stepped down, and he's going to retire, I think, here at Christmas. Randy Jackson is their head coach there, so he's their stadium manager right now. And they brought a guy in named Fleener, and he came over from one of the Mesquite schools, and he's done a nice job with those guys. They've won some tight ball games. They're in ball games all the way. So I haven't sat down and really broken down all their film. We're watching them play other guys. Our other opponents that we've been playing. But what appears to be right now is they play really sound defense. Again, haven't seen a freaky guy they've got on the field. It's just tough, hard-nosed. I don't know. I made a comment, I think, to somebody the other day that one of my coaches, they looked like Iowa. All right, like University of Iowa, and they kind of play like those guys. It's just kind of a Midwestern kind of a feel. I mean, they're just tough, hard-nosed. You kind of know where they're going to be. They're not going to do anything fancy or kind of light you up. They just play hard. So when they defeated North Forney, and so I talked to one of the other coaches. I said, he said, I went to the ball game, and I said, what was the difference? He said Forney just played harder. He said they played with more emotion and excitement and all that. So I think that's kind of what's going on. They know what they're doing. They're very sound in their schemes and what they're doing. They don't make many mistakes. And so it's just a hard-nosed football team that comes at you. And so that'll be our challenge here, to get after those guys, to find a weakness, to pick on somebody, to go get at. But we got to be consistent. So we know we're going to play a well-disciplined football team. They're not going to make many mistakes. So we've got to make the most of our opportunities again. And then on the other side of the ball, again, offensively, same way. They're not huge explosive guys, taking deep balls and all that kind of stuff. They're just going to run it. They're going to do some play action at you. There's some RPOs. Excuse me. And they got some pretty good sized linemen. They got some big old kiddos that are just going to lean on you and lean on you and lean on you, just trying to make you tired. So, again, we make the most of our opportunities and do the best there. That may be the difference. So the kicking game might be the difference in this one, too. If everybody's playing as consistently and being disciplined, it's going to be a big factor, I think, in this ballgame. And
with your defense having a tough challenge in that they'll be playing a defense that very much looks like the Iowa Hawkeyes, I kind of expect, as a former Big Ten follower and fan myself, a final 10-7 final score. But is there anything else you'd like to add, Coach?
It's just been a good week. I mean, another thing, I want to mention this about the Hall of Honor. Excuse me, I got a frog. The Hall of Honor ceremony, we had that last night, and it was kind of fun. I had the opportunity. One of my former players, Colton Miles Nash, was inducted, and I had the honor of inducting him, and it was just an honor to do that. It was just so cool. I think this thing came about with James Cameron back in like might have been 91, 92, 93, somewhere in there. James said, hey, we need to recognize former players that have been from here. So it's been a nice run. I mean, there's a committee that's put together that selects those. People nominate, and it's a thankless job for that committee, and they work really hard at it. But it's a cool ceremony for those families. I mean, there were a lot of people that came in. So Colton was one in. Kenan Clayton, that's on our staff right now, that was a standout in the early 2000s, went on and played in the NFL. He was there. His former coach, Brad Turner, who was here, the head coach. It was fun to visit with him and talk to those guys and see all these families. Gail Grand-Lenard, it was a standout soccer player. She's just a flat-out stud. I first got here, I got to see her play that spring before she graduated. Man, great player. And then Graham Northcutt, just a stud at cross-country distance runner. I mean, he was legit. I mean, those guys, I was talking to some of the old heads last night, and even Butch Burney was there, was talking, and he said this might be the most athletic class that's ever been introduced. I mean, just pure athleticism and accolades and that kind of stuff, and then they're all really good people. I mean, that's another thing that's fantastic. So that's fun. That's a thing we kind of blow through. We go fast. Everybody runs in. Sometimes somebody in the community don't even know what's happening, but we do it. We pick one ball game, and then at 5 o'clock we have a ceremony. It lasts about an hour and a half, and we try to feed them. There's some snacks and stuff, and then they come over and they're introduced also at the ball game. So I think last night there might have been in our indoor. We have 2 classrooms there where we hosted the ceremony. That there were probably 75 people there last night. So it was good. Some former people that are in the Hall of Honor come, and it's a nice time. It's a neat thing for those guys. And if anybody doesn't know, well, who's in the Hall of Honor, you can see that at our stadium between the 2 concession stands on the home side. We have a board there, and also in the indoor, we've made a nice wall there that has a Hall of Honor just to kind of recognize them. So it's pretty cool. So I think there's 102 who are in the Hall of Honor now. So neat thing, neat deal to remember people and all that kind of stuff, and just to go back through the memories of everything that happens. And you kind of blink, and it's been 10 years. Wow, that guy played 10 years ago. But the fun part for me and always for coaching is to see somebody's family and to see them come back and see them and their wife and their kids and see them getting on with life and being great human beings. So that was a special time last night as well.
Absolutely, but that'll about do it for us on the Coaches Show. Don't want to impede too much on the Stew Fest happening over at the park, but thanks so much for joining us on the Coaches Show. I'm your interviewer and sports director at KSST Radio, Ross Lubinsky. Shooting video, as always, for us is Doug Haston, and station manager, who makes everything you hear possible, James Terry. Thanks so much. Again, be sure to head over to the park west of the square to attend today's Stew Fest, but that'll do it for us. So long, everyone.